Hello and welcome to another video from Accounting How. This time we are looking at bank reconciliation. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like, share the video, and you can also follow us on Twitter at Accounting How. Okay, let's get into a question. What have we got here? Bradley's cash book and bank statement for June are shown below. A quick look, I can see his cash book then, it's just the bank columns, and that's fairly typical in these sorts of questions. They won't show the cash column because we don't need it, we've just got the bank column. And then underneath I can see his bank statement, and what am I told? The figures on the bank statement are correct. And they're the required then prepare an updated cash book at the 30th of June and prepare a bank reconciliation statement at the 30th of June. Okay, a couple of things to know with this. When we are looking at our cash book, things on the debit side will be increasing the asset, the bank, and things on the credit side will be reducing the asset, that is the bank. In the bank statement, it will appear the other way around, and that's because the bank is looking at it from their point of view. So something in our cash book, if we put it on the debit side, we would say, well, we've got more money now in the bank. From the bank's point of view, if we pay money into the bank, they will see that as a credit, because from their point of view, in a way, they owe us that money back. It's not their money, it's our money. So to them, it's almost like a liability. So just something to be considering when you're looking at these. First thing I'm going to do then to start this question is I'm going to look for things that both we, or Bradley, and his bank know about. And the first thing I've highlighted there, on June the 8th, Bradley made a cash deposit of £400. So he paid £400 into his bank. And when I look on his bank statement, I can see the corresponding entry on his bank statement. There's the £400. So from Bradley's point of view, in the cash book, it's a debit. From the bank's point of view, it's a credit. The date is one day out. The narrative is slightly different. Well, that's because the bank's recording things that they want to record from their point of view. So whilst Bradley's called it a cash deposit, the bank has called it a counter credit. And the date's one day out. It might have taken a day for the bank to process it. So when you're pairing things, be careful, not to sort of get too worried about the date and the narrative. Well, the key thing is really to be looking at the amounts, but the dates, the narrative should be fairly similar, fairly close together. So there's the first thing that both Bradley knows about and we know about. I can also see, and I've highlighted another pair on the credit. In his cash book, he's got this check number 189 that he's paid for rates, and then I can see it recorded as a debit in the bank statement. So again, both Bradley and his bank know about those. And that's how to start a bank reconciliation. Go through and almost like tick off the things that both we know about and the bank knows about. I'm looking to see if there's anything else. The only other possibility I can see is on June the 19th, we've got this check for Mist PLC that was paid to Mist PLC, but the figures don't agree. In the cash book, it says that Bradley paid Mist PLC £1,040, but on the bank statement, it says the check was for £1,400. But it does tell me underneath the figures on the bank statement are correct. So I know at the moment they don't reconcile, they don't agree, the two figures don't agree, but we know the bank statement is correct. So that is just an error that Bradley has made in his cash book, and I need to sort that in a moment. So I'm going to start then with part A, which was to prepare an updated cash book at the 30th of June. And you'll see there I've got my cash book ready. And I'm going to start where Bradley's left off. So I'm going to look at his closing balance in his cash book, and you can see on the credit he's got June the 30th balance carried down £330. Just be a little bit careful here. This does sometimes happen in questions. They haven't brought the balance down. So don't get confused and think that that is the side that we need to put it on the credit. If that's the carried down balance, then his brought down balance will be on the debit. and you can see there I've put it into the cash book. I haven't quite got enough room, want to keep it all on one screen for you, so I've just put J for June to save a bit of space. So June 30th, balance brought down 330. And then you'll see I've highlighted in green a number of things in the bank statement. And to update the cash book, what I need to do, I need to enter things that are in the bank statement but not in the cash book. In other words, the things that the bank knows about, but Bradley didn't know about, or maybe he'd forgotten about, things that he's only just looked at now that he's doing his reconciliation. So I've put the balance in, and then I'm simply going to go through the things in the bank statement and record them in his cash book. So the first thing, on June the 17th, there was a credit transfer from High Limited. So High Limited has paid Bradley £3,100. And remember, if it's a credit on the bank statement, it will be a debit in the cash book. And there I've entered that in there. That would be double entered into the High Limited account. I've just put CT in brackets, perhaps just to remind anybody looking at the accounts that it was a credit transfer. Next thing is a direct debit that was paid to Holdings Limited for 3,200. Debit in the bank statement, so credit in his cash book. Then we come to this cheque that we mentioned a moment ago to Mist PLC. And remember, Bradley's made an error when he recorded it in his cash book. He's made a transposition error. He's got two of the digits the wrong way round. So he put 1,040 originally, but it's supposed to be £1,400. So he's £360 too low. So basically, I need to record the fact that he's paid Mist another £360. And there you can see it on his credit. So that will now in total mean his cash book is totaling £1,400 made to Mist. Finally, what have we got? Bank charges. So the bank has charged him £85 for running his account, and a debit in the bank statement. It's an expense, a charge, so it needs to go onto the credit because it's reduced the asset of the bank. And then I'm going to balance off his cash book, and we can see he finishes on July the 1st with a balance brought down on the credit of £215, effectively meaning because it's on the credit, it's a liability. So Bradley is now overdrawn at his bank. Just one other thing to say on that Mist PLC. In his cash book, I've put Mist PLC. Technically, you could put suspense because we don't know for definite what figure Bradley's put in the actual Mist PLC account. He might have put 1,040 in there. He might have put 1,400 in there. So it might be that it needs to be corrected via the suspense account. But Mist PLC or suspense, either narrative should be accepted. Okay, let's have a look at part B. So then part B is to prepare the bank reconciliation statement. So I've put the title, Bradley, who's it for, what it is, and then the date at the 30th of June. And now I'm going to work the other way around. So you'll see I've highlighted the final balance on the bank statement, and then I've highlighted the things in the cash book that aren't on the bank statement. So I'm going to start with the balance as per the bank statement at the end of June, and we can see there that's £415 debit. So from the bank's point of view, it's an asset, so that must mean that from the bank's point of view, Bradley owes them money. Quite often in these sorts of questions, overdrafts are involved, so just be very careful when you're working with bank reconciliation. So there's my first figure going in, my narrative balance as per bank statement, and then I've put £415, but it's in brackets because we owe that to the bank. If the bank is saying it's a debit, to them it's an asset, so to Bradley then it's a liability. He's overdrawn at his bank. And then what I'm going to do, I'm going to look in his cash book, and on the debit side, we've got these sales by cheque for £700. So the bank doesn't know about that yet. Bradley knows about it. Maybe he's paid it in. It just hasn't quite processed for some reason, timing, things like that in the bank yet. So when the bank finds out about that, it will increase the balance in the bank by 700. So you'll see here I'm writing in and I'm putting add uncleared bankings. So bankings, something that Bradley has banked, but it hasn't yet cleared. It hasn't yet gone through the payment process, the clearing system. And then what was it? It was sales by cheque 700. So when that does clear, that's going to take him out of his overdraft, and his balance will be £285 in the bank. However, the final thing on the credit in his cash book, he's got cheque number 191 that he paid to Forrest & Co for £500, and that isn't showing yet in the bank statement. So the bank doesn't yet know that he's written this cheque. Again, probably due to clearing, the time it takes for the cheque to go to Forrest & Co to pay it into their bank, and for it all to be processed, it just hasn't yet gone through the banking system. But when it does, we know that the bank balance is going to go down by £500. So I'm going to call this an unpresented cheque, because it's a cheque that Bradley has written that hasn't yet been presented, hasn't yet been shown to his bank for payment. And then I'm just going to make a note that it was the cheque paid to Forrest & Co. And then that's going to reduce, as we say, the balance by 500. And then my final narrative in my reconciliation statement, balance as per updated cash book. And you'll see he's now back in an overdraft. So it's back in brackets, £215. And that agrees with, reconciles with, which is the whole point of what we're doing, what the updated balance in the cash book. £215 overdrawn both in his cash book and at the end of his bank reconciliation statement. Just a final thing on the bank reconciliation statement. It is possible to do it upside down, completely the other way around, and start with the balance as per the updated cash book and finish with the balance as the bank statement. It may well be that you've been taught that way, or you're looking at another resource which has it that way. That's absolutely fine. You just have to remember that if you're working the other way around, you will need to add the unpresented cheques and less the uncleared bankings. My advice is just pick a way and stick with a way. So the way I've done it here is the way I always do it. Don't be tempted to keep switching ways, because then you're more likely to make mistakes. Do check out my other video, which contains a practice question on bank reconciliation. And in that question, there is also another thing called a query, if there's something on the bank statement that the bank isn't recognising. Okay, hope that's been useful for you. Please do remember to subscribe to the channel, like, share the video, and you can also follow us on Twitter @AccountingHow.